Yo.
What's going on, C-Man?
Echo Chamber, what's going on, my boy?
What are you up to?
Just about to hop into the bird bath. What's up?
Can you believe people are blaming Younghoe Koo? The defense was just trash.
Know how you blame a defense that only gave up 260 yards. A 44-yarder indoors is basically a gimme.
Well, I mean, Mike Hughes, he gave up 2 touchdowns.
Mike Hughes only gave up 1 touchdown, and on the one that was actually his fault, he tried to notify Jesse Bates to let him know that he had help over top. I'm not saying Mike Hughes is a shutdown cornerback, but he's a serviceable number 2.
Well,
Snarf?
no. I mean, this is why LeBron's better than Mike.
Let's see where this is going. Hop into the bird bath. Don't trip. We got a dope Falcons versus Vikings game preview for you guys. It's your boy Simo the C Mitchell checking in with another weekly Falcons bird bath. 5-point game. If you're not careful, fans will have you out here complaining and making emotional takes all day long. Play yourself. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'll keep you clear of all the bad juju and crazy takes. There's a lot of things that I told you would happen that actually happened. So maybe, just maybe, you should listen to me when I say there's a lot that we could build on, and we have a good chance of beating the Vikings this week. Now, the Falcons defense is much improved, but the Falcons offense is still the heart and backbone of this team, and they're gonna have to make sure that they go out there and put points on the board. Last week, what we did was unacceptable. We gotta put up more than 21 points. Now, the strength of this Vikings defense is their pass rush. They got a pretty good defensive line, and they love to blitz you to oblivion, and they're definitely gonna try to test Penix and blitz him. The Falcons, the Vikings, and Tampa Bay were amongst the league leaders in top 10 in blitz percentage this past week. One place I think we could definitely attack the Vikings is in the pass game. They don't have a good secondary. They're not great against tight ends, and they're not really good against backs out of the backfield necessarily either. If few people have anybody that could cover somebody like Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts, that's where I think the Falcons need to go a lot more this week. We did get Bijan the ball quite frequently, but we didn't exploit our mismatches with the tight end and the seam and a lot of those crossing routes nearly as much as we should have with Kyle Pitts, even though we did get him involved a bit. You got a team that blitzes a lot. You want to use your screen game. You want to do a lot of dinking and dunking to your running back out of the backfield and dump routes to your tight ends and hitting guys and crossers over the middle. Michael Penix did great at hitting the right reads at the right time last week and taking what the defense gave him. Being very patient and just going down the field methodically is okay. And I think that Michael Penix is starting to understand and learn that it's okay to go that route. Really wish Zach Robinson would have stayed a little bit more consistent to the run. Penix dropped back 42 times, but that speaks volumes for the type of confidence that they have in him as a leader of this offense. We definitely have us a quarterback of the future. And I believe that if we keep running the ball, he's just going to continue to get better. This Falcons offense, in my humble opinion, operates at its best when we're running the ball 25 times or more. They were able to shut down the running game, but they used Bijan in a plethora of different ways. They got Bijan on the field at the same time with Tyler Algier. I love this route when they bring Bijan in motion and hit him with that swinging route out the backfield. I'd like to see them add some other creative things to that. I would definitely love to see Bijan out there more at the wide receiver position. Typically, I want to be able to get Bijan at least 15 carries, and I want to see if I can get him another 5 to maybe 10 receptions. Some of the shoulder injuries that both of our star receivers are having, I lean a little bit more on Tyler Algier to carry a lot more of that heavy workload. I'd still let him get his touches and running the ball, let him get into a groove, but let him get the ball in the space a whole lot more. Early practice reports say that Drake London is expected to play, and we're not completely sure about Darnell Mooney. We're both limited participants in practice. But Casey Washington was actually out of practice. He had a concussion from the game, which didn't show up on the practice report initially. Casey Washington was actually having a pretty good game last week, and I want to see that continue if we can actually get him back. I'd love to see us get a little bit more creative in how we use our receivers this week. I also feel as though the Falcons need to add a lot more misdirection to some of their plays, but there was a few situational places that I wish that he would have been a little bit more creative with some of his personnel options. Definitely on the 4th and 1 run with Bijan Robinson. I'm not so mad at the play call that they had there, but I'm mad that they didn't have another tight end out there. No, they had 2 tight ends. Honestly, I think that's a time where you go with 3 tight ends. The Bucs were all in on selling out to stop the run on that play. You didn't do anything to suggest that you were going to run any type of option in your playbook at all earlier. I think that would have been a perfect time to go ahead and actually pull it. I feel as though the Falcons need to incorporate a lot more RPO in their offense. It just holds linebackers and some of the defenders a lot longer. You're doing a great disservice to him as a quarterback and to our team if you don't use that 4.5 speed that he has out there. It definitely hurts defenses when they have to account for the quarterback as a running guy. He was able to use his legs a lot. We're going to need that a lot more from Michael Penix moving forward. I know that we're playing with backup linemen, but one thing we can't afford to do is beat ourselves and keep having these penalties and false starts. Knowing the snap count, these type of things are inexcusable. We had far too many false starts. We had 2 defensive penalties last week and 6 offensive penalties. Our defense is not that good to be able to overcome these type of penalties. Contrary to a lot of people's opinions, the Falcons actually played a pretty good defensive game last week. They just didn't show up on the stats a whole lot. But the Falcons almost had 5 interceptions on Baker Mayfield. And I believe that we can get interceptions this week against the Vikings. We held Tampa Bay, a typically high-powered offense that scores a lot of points, to only 260 yards of total offense. McCarthy struggled last week against the Bears. He's still, for all intents and purposes, still in his rookie year. He had an interception they had returned for a touchdown, and I believe that he's going to do similar things. We got ball hawks out there. I believe that we can easily bait him into probably throwing some interceptions, and if we get some pressure on him, he's definitely going to be able to make some mistakes. So we just got to stay out there and keep being patient and not get lulled to sleep. His feet and his legs are where he can really hurt us, though. He can make the plays that you want. You have dangerous Justin Jefferson. They are a little bit thin at receiver. They don't have Jordan Addison. JJ wasn't necessarily able to get Justin Jefferson going the way that you would want him to get going, but he ran for a touchdown. We did a pretty good job on Baker last week, but Baker did get loose a little bit, and JJ McCarthy, I believe, is a much better athlete. So we got to make sure that we're patient and stay home, and maybe even spy somebody. I really like the way we used Divine Diablo last week, and we spied him a little bit with Baker, and we did the same thing with Caden Ellis. I believe we could see a lot more of that as well this week. I really like putting Brandon Dorless and Zach Harrison out there at the defensive ends at the big end position, and they made a lot of plays that didn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. They were either able to force contain and force the ball back into other defenders, or they were able to spill it outside to our cornerbacks and to our nickel backs. Vikings had trouble in their run game playing against the Bears last week when they had their big defensive ends and they ran to that side. They switched out Aaron Jones and they put in Jordan Mason, and I expect to see a lot more of that as well this week too. I believe that they're going to try to run the ball directly at us, try to play bully ball and make us prove that we can stop the run again. But I like our chances. Tampa Bay is one of the best offenses in the league, and they had one of the best rushing attacks last year as well as one of the best passing attacks. And we did great at stopping both of those things. We just didn't transfer any big plays or get any sacks. The Vikings run a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets. And this year, our secondary is much better at tackling. As a matter of fact, we're a much better tackling unit in general. Defense is attitude and team effort. Billy Bowman actually does pretty good against tight ends in the slot. They're trying to block him as a smaller defender. Xavier Watts loves the contact. They're filling on plays. They're snuffing out screens. All the improvements that we made actually helped our defense out. The rookie pass rush looked really good most of the time. But the one area I didn't like was them getting off of their blocks on their pass rush. The Falcons edge defenders actually got a really good rush and put some pressure on the quarterback. And I feel as though as they get later in their career and as they get more moxie and cachet and more of a reputation, that'll probably get called. But what they're going to have to do is learn to become more violent with their hands. Hey, coach, they holding me out there. Break his damn hands. And that's how they got to get out there. You got to get off your blocks, you got to get off holes, and you got to be able to turn and run and make a play. But ultimately, they had a pretty good job, but that's one thing that I do want to see them improve upon. In my humble opinion, Younghoe Koo, as I said in the intro, was the biggest problem. Missed the 44-yarder, which is basically a gimme indoors. And it's only like 10 yards further than the extra point attempt. But early in the game, he almost missed a 35-yard field goal, and it doinked off the inside post. So that was kind of foreshadowing for what we actually saw. And at the end of the day, he didn't lose us the game, but he definitely missed a key opportunity to tie the game up. And he had one job and one job only, and it was the biggest critical mistake of the whole game. So the Falcons have decided to sign Parker Romo to the practice squad to give a little bit more competitive edge with Koo. Now, we already had Lenny Craig. To be honest, I'm not sure how much more competitive nature this is going to actually give us. If Lenny Craig was actually that much competition, he probably would have taken the job from Koo. Parker Romo, we'll see what happens, but again, if he was that accurate, I believe he'd be on somebody's roster. Although I will say that the Falcons have been given the type of loyalty to Younghoe Koo that you would give to a 3 or 4-time Super Bowl champion quarterback who's aging and seeing if they actually still had anything left in the tank. But I think there's a lot more to be looking forward to than there is to be upset about if you're a Falcons fan. 9 times out of 10, if you play this type of game, you're going to win. It seems like I'm putting a bow tie on a poop sandwich. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's going to get better, but all things do indicate that the Falcons are definitely going to continue to improve. All right, family, that's our show for today. Stay tuned. I'll be streaming live during Sunday Night Football for the game, having a watch party, and I'll start doing the pregame as well, too. C-Mo to C. Mitchell, checking out for Point Game Official and Falcons Bird Bad, baby.